All right, looks like everyone can see Blackboard, so that's good. I've switched locations, so I'm going to be here for the next couple of weeks. I will give everybody a heads up on July the 20th. I think it's the 21st and 22nd. The 22nd, we are not likely to have a Zoom meeting that day because I will be on an airplane. I am not sure about Monday, the 21st. That's going to be highly dependent on the workshop that I'm in. I will be on the East Coast. We should be around our break time, but I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work. But I do already have the videos all posted, so that shouldn't be too much of a trouble. And I'll remind folks as we get to that. That's going to be the July the 21st and 22nd. So just know that is coming up, and that will be a little bit different. You will see, I think everybody probably got pinged with a lot of different things.
Desde que ya desde allá en camino.
I opened up all the current and resistance and DC circuits. We're actually going to start current tonight, or today, and that's what we're working on there. Your week 3 plan is in here under electrical energy. This is our week 3. I think that's right. You do have that in here. For whatever reason, I'm getting the bugs, but it comes up in just a second. Get there. So you have the extra electric fields and forces coming up due this week. You have the homework on electric charge. You have your capacitors homework is due. And then we're starting, like I said, we've got resistance. We're starting that tonight. We've already been through the labs for the Doppler effect. So those are coming, those were due yesterday. So that's just kind of a reminder there. You do have a quiz on Coulomb's law. That quiz is in WebAssign, and that one is due today. And then you have a quiz coming up early next week. And then you have your week be next week. And it's over charges, fields, electrical potentials, capacitors, and resistance. So it's over our electricity items. So those are the things there. Now I will, there are some Kirchhoff law stuff in the test, but it's very short. Most of your Kirchhoff's laws or Kirchhoff's rules, which we are going to work on this week, most of that detail stuff will be in the homework that you have in WebAssign. So that's the assignment for the September or summer 2025. You have all of the electrical items that are there and the capacitance, and then don't forget that you have lots of example videos. But as I said, we're starting current tonight. I've also posted for folks the week 4 plan. So if you open that up, you'll see the homework that's due next week. All of those are in there. The 2 laboratories that will be due next week. That is not June 6th. That is actually June 12th. It's the Earth's magnetic field. It's due on the 12th, not the 6th. It's just a print. I didn't get that fixed. And then you have this quiz is due on the 15th. And that quiz can be found in Blackboard. That's this quiz right here. Here's the Ohm's Law Lab, and here is the Magnetic Field Lab. So for those of you that are trying to work ahead, this one is one that you're going to have to use the PhET simulation lab. It is looking at capacitors and resistors. There are actually 2 labs combined here. One is looking at your resistors in parallel and your resistors in series, looking at your capacitors in parallel and your capacitors in series. And then one is the Ohm's law. So you actually have two different ones that are there. You are doing the remote lab and you do have those instructions. So those are there for you guys. That's the Ohm's Law Laboratory. The measuring the Earth's magnetic field. You're going to use your Firefox app for that. I encourage you to do it outside rather than inside. And I will show that here to you guys in just a minute. But you're going to take your Firefox app and actually measure the Earth's magnetic field in your location. We will do this, cover a little bit more as we get to it. This is built up off of the laboratory that you see. There's an actual paper measuring the Earth's magnetic field using your cell phone. So I encourage you to read that paper that's in there, but it's a very easy lab because you're going to go outside, you're going to read it off your Firefox app. But you may want to play with it because as if you go to different sources, if you're in a, like my house out in the Osage, there's wire mesh in the walls and it actually acts like a Faraday cage. So you don't get some of those magnetic fields inside. That's why I'm asking you to go outside. You have magnets in your computers. You've got magnets in a lot of different sources. So you may want to play with it and see how the magnetic field changes by your location. So that one is a fun lab to do, and it's very easy to do. It will not take you very much time. And it'll use your Firefox app. Now, if you're traveling and you're out and about, you may want to say where you're measuring your magnetic field, because right now I'm next to mountains that have lots of iron ore in them. And my magnetic field is a little bit different here than it would be in Osage County. So you do get, and we'll talk about that as we get to magnetic fields, but that's that lab that's coming up. Then I've also posted the last labs. They're in their own separate folders, so you're not having to find them around. I have done an introduction to them for those of you who are trying to get ahead. One is measuring the speed of light. I love this lab. This is one of my favorite labs. People have done it. I have people, if I even have a class that doesn't have a lab, I make people do this. This is, you have a variety of ways to do it. You will need a microwave oven. That's the big thing. You have to find a microwave oven. You can do it using raw egg. You can do it using a Hershey's chocolate bar. When I do it in the spring, this lab comes right up right next to Easter, so we can do peeps. And when I do it in the fall, it comes up right around Halloween, and you can do it with the marshmallow jack-o'-lanterns or the marshmallow peep ghosts. So you can destroy peeps, you can do it with marshmallows, you can do it with chocolate chips, you can do it with a variety of things. The key to the lab is that you do not have the turntable running, because you want it to be uneven heating within the microwave, and you're going to get melted spots, and you're going to measure between the center of one melted spot to the next melted spot, and that is half a wavelength. So if we think about standing waves, you're measuring node to node, and node to node is a half a wavelength. You multiply that distance by 2, you check the frequency of your microwave, and you calculate the speed of light, because microwaves are electromagnetic waves, and you can calculate the speed of light in your microwave. And so you have several different ones that are there, and that laboratory is going to be due on the 25th. So you can go ahead. And so depending on what you have around your house, or depending on what your family situation is, you might have those ingredients around, and you might want to be able to show nieces and nephews or play with kids. It's a great experiment to do, and you can actually measure the speed of light in your house. The next lab is a refraction lab. We're going to use the PhET simulations for that one as well. We'll get more into it as we go forward, but I did want to bring up the working with light lab, because this is going to take you a little bit of time to do, and you're going to end up with a variety of images. So it's going to be a report looking at light and how light plays with windows, glasses, cut glass, reflections, refraction, all of those things. And I have the outline for that. You're going to give me 10 photographs, and I have provided some examples of photographs that I have taken that look at light, and you're going to end up looking at those. This was using light interference to detect hail damage on a car, as the reflections are distorted from the lines. You can see where the dimple would be from the hail damage. And I've got in closer to that, and then you can see the hail damage in the actual vehicle. And then you can also see the reflection of clouds. This is taken over very early one morning over in Enid, and you can see how the light comes in and it's shining in as the sun is coming up, and it's being reflected off of the windows, and you're going to be able to see that reflection. If you've got thunderstorms around, you might be able to get a good sun or rainbow effect, but I want your own images. That's really what I'm after here. These are looking at a ring through the clouds. You might also get things that are called sundogs associated with things, taking a picture of the sun through the clouds, but don't look directly at the sun. But there are other optical illusions, but that just gives you some examples of what I'm looking for. So that's part of the laboratory. The other part of the laboratory is to do, if you open up the outline of the light activity, you're going to give me 10 images that's looking at the light, and you're going to describe what you're seeing. And then I want you to make a pinhole projector and use your cell phone to get a pinhole image. You can go ahead and make yourself a pinhole camera. There are dozens of ways. If you could just do a Google search, you're going to find lots of pinhole cameras. Used to, when film was easy to get and film was easy to develop, you could go out and do it. And one of the best pinhole cameras I've ever used was made with a box of matches. So that's another one that's in there. So I want to get at least 3 photos from your pinhole camera, or we call it a projector because we're going to take a picture with our cell phone to get the image, but you can get projections out there and get that. So as you're going through the next couple of weeks, start looking at light and see how it's coming through trees, see how it may be going through leaves, something in your area to be able to look at how light is interacting with the environment. And that's really what this laboratory is looking at, plus the pinhole lab. And I think I saw just a second, saw a chat here. Yes? No, what do you need? Okay. Oh, okay, just a second, let me get my stuff. Timothy, you have a window contractor here. Yeah, gotta talk to him. Okay, sorry about that. Uh, oh, somebody's asking a question about the labs that are due this week. I'm going to go back and cover those. So just a second. We do have labs that are due this week. But this will get that one right there. So for the labs that are due this week, if you come up here, your electrostatics lab, those are due there. The Ohm's Law lab is due on the 12th. So that is due this week. So the Ohm's Law lab is due on the 12th, and the Earth's Magnetic Field lab is due on the 12th. Today is the 7th, so these are the two labs that are due this week. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question. So the Ohm's Law lab, again, what you're going to do for that one, just as a reminder, you're going to open up this one and it will do a step-by-step. And you'll work through that. And then the circuits or the parallel and circuit lab is this, and you're only going to do one memo for both. It's all going to be in the same memo. And so you have that part there. So that one is done with the FET, and then the other one is done using your Firefox. And I'll show that here just a second when I switch cameras. In fact, I can do that right now. I'm going to stop my share. And I'm going to start my share again. So when I go to my Firefox screen, if you scroll down, you've got your magnetic spectrum, and you can display your magnetic fields. It will give you your raw data. It'll give you in the X, Y, and Z direction. It'll give you a total spectrum. You can actually look at your total magnetic field. There's my magnetic ruler. Here's my other magnetic one. There's the magnetometer. This one does it the same way. So you can have your X, Y, and Z, and then you can have your total absolute one. But again, I recommend that you go outside and do it, work with it outside, because things next to electronics, anything that's going to have a magnet in it will impact your overall magnetic field. But that's essentially, we've just done the lab for this location inside this building. And that's the magnetic field lab. All right, and those labs are due the 12th. The magnetic field lab and the Ohm's Law lab are due on the 12th. Other questions about what's due, where to find things?